Well, let's see if we can get some truth into the internal democracy question. We have Bola Bakare of the Truth Be Told Network here with us let's discuss internal party democracy. From all that you've seen, you've heard the conversation between the two members of the PDP. What do you think about internal democracy in Nigeria's political parties?
Thank you, my brother. Glad to be here, and good morning. All we need to do on a truthful basis is to look at the situation holistically. When you talk about democracy, let's start from brass tacks, from the baseline. You talk about the human being first. You talk about groups that eventually culminated into political parties. Don't you ever forget those three factors, because they come to bear in politics. And before the political parties metamorphose to become our democracy, you need to take a cursory look at those three factors. Democracy is based on political parties. Let's take it down. Political parties on groups, groups on individuals. How did we get to where we are today? Honestly, let's tell ourselves the truth. How many of these people that formed the groups that eventually became the political parties are people you can vouch for, people you can vote for, people you want to be seen with? That is, it's the basis.
Now that's a very far basis. It's a very far off basis, because whether or not we like it, political parties have been formed.
That's right.
We've had them for quite a while. In 1999, they came back again, and then we've had this democratic process, so to speak,
That's right,
since 1999, and political parties are still existing, and we've been under that system for close to 16 years now, if not more.
Absolutely.
And this is where we are. The question is, how are we doing with what we have at hand? From what you've seen, I mean, looking at the instance that we have this morning, what is your assessment of democracy within political parties?
Thank you, my dear. As we speak, we can talk about two parties and the others. Let me leave their names out of it. Just two parties and the others. The two parties are just two sides of the same coin. The human factor comes to play. The human factor comes to bear. Let's start from the basis. Look at the man who is made a counselor, whose cerebral makeup can only give them a 20,000 naira salary a month. This same person becomes a counselor. You give him 250,000 naira a month. You give him a 5 million vehicle to run around with. At the end of the day, after 3 years, he's supposed to leave. This man, because you've moved them out of his own zone to somewhere he cannot manage, he becomes a semi-morbid somebody to come back because of all the perks. The same that applies to the senator, applies to the member of the houses of assembly, to the House of Rep, to the Senate. Every day you keep on hearing them, I want to go back. I want to negotiate my way back. If I don't get this, you're out of office too.
Oh, but I mean, that is elections across the world. Perhaps a lot of people will say that we're not giving political office holders. Yes, some of them have not done very well, but some have done pretty well. It doesn't mean that the elections, it might be a very small number, but it doesn't mean that the elections were less contentious. People did not say, oh, we think that you're more gentlemanly than this man, and so we vote you into office. In fact, if you ask a lot of people, they say gentlemen don't win in politics.
That's right. Absolutely. Gentlemen can't do it. Which boils down to what I just said earlier. A man that is not worth 20 naira, you're giving him 250, he becomes a morbid performer who wants to get back there at all costs. You see, when we now look at the two political parties, like you rightly said, we've been at it for 16 years. To me, the two political parties are not giving us anything that is impressive. Because if we go back to the days when we started this democracy, during the days of Aminu Kano and then Awo, we had parties that had ideologies in their manifesto. As we speak, I can't see any ideology anywhere. I can't see any manifesto anywhere. Little wonder. Today, they board ship. Tomorrow, they jump ship. If there are ideas in those parties, where are you leaving? And if you leave, why are you going back? It shows there is nothing. There is no yardstick of comparison. So you're free to just jump ship, board ship. But I guess the way around it is, I still believe in one thing. On a daily basis, we learn. We learn as we go.
And this journey so far has shown that, or appears to show that some of these parties are learning. I mean, before now party primaries were not as open as this one had been so far. So are you seeing an improvement in the internal structures, though, that would enhance democracy overall?
Yes, there is an improvement, so to speak. And I guess the improvement, we're getting that outside of the mainstream.
How do you mean?
If you are an underdog in a battle, you need to knock out the champion to prove a point. You can't afford a fair fight. What you're saying right now, I can see it more.
You can't afford a fair fight. What a lot of people will say what you need is a level playing field, perhaps, to ensure that the most powerful man there is not using underhand tactics to knock you out.
But if you are the underdog,
yes,
honestly,
you need to be a lot more prepared.
Yeah, the referees are biased from the onset. This man should beat this man. Maybe in betting terms, they say it's a 10-1 or a 5-1 bet. So in this case, where I'm saying the opposition is doing a better job is because they are the underdog and they need to do more. And as such, the learning process continues. It's just like running a case of, with due respect to him, I like him, of Fashola. Fashola did a good job, and honestly, it became the norm in Nigeria. We started seeing changes in states. So basically, I guess the APC now, with the last primaries they had, presidential primaries they had, they did a good job. And it was like an example of what should happen. I am not running a comparison between the APC and the PDP, but what happened in the PDP is not as democratic as what the APC did. This is the truth angle, not partisan angle. So I guess, like you rightly said, on a daily basis, if we keep learning, that is a factor. Are we learning as we go? Because if you learn, that is why you can improve on your situation. That is why you can improve on the way you operate. Honestly, most of what we're doing is we pray a lot. I'm not saying we shouldn't pray, but for every prayer, there should be action.
The question will be, how do we, because you say that we've seen some progress, we've seen some improvement.
That's right.
How do we ensure that we see less of bickering? Yes, politics by its own nature is very emotive. But how do we ensure that moving forward, we're constantly on the path of improvement?
We've started it. We've made maybe the first or the second step. Maybe it's the second step in 20 or the second step in 200. That we will see later. But as we speak, we've made some good first, second steps. And I guess our democracy these days is moving forward. And I know you want to ask a question, how does this all translate into general elections in 2015? It's going to be, I guess, for the first time, and then it's going to be a very good, I'm looking at it as a very good political battle. Because the norm in Nigeria over the years is the opposition, coalition of opposition, has never won in Nigeria. This is a coalition of opposition. And I guess from my experience, because I was around all through, from my experience, I guess this is the best coalition of opposition we're seeing. And what I pray for is for both parties to allow democracy take its course. Give the average Nigerian a chance to sit back and say, Mr. A is making sense. Mr. B is making sense too. Who do I prefer? That I would like to see. But another factor that negates, not that necessarily negate, that waters it down, is the Nigerian factor that we have given a name lately, stomach infrastructure. In other words, money. lately both parties were doling out money in their primaries. They were doling out money to swing votes. That should not be the norm. That at times make me view some of our politicians and say, these people are not the right people for us.